is there any type of ground rules you want to go over for anybody that's on the virtual?
Can everyone hear me okay? Good morning. Good morning, panel members. Good morning, everyone. So before we begin, we have a few housekeeping announcements. If you are here in the auditorium, we ask that you please do not streamline via a mobile device or connect to the Zoom platform. This will avoid a persistent disruption of proceedings. If you are presenting before the panel and are attending the meeting in person, please step up to the podium and speak clearly. State your name, title, and the company you are representing. And for public comments, we ask that you do the same. For those who are viewing or attending the meeting virtually, if you would like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature and wait for your name to be called. At that time, you will be unmuted. There will be a 3-minute limit per speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. So with that, can we have a roll call, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will take roll call at this time. Janice Roberts.
Here.
Gloria Bell. Gretchen Newsom.
Present.
Douglas Tracy.
Present.
Rick Smiles.
Present.
Madison Hall.
Present.
Arceli Ramirez.
Present.
Ernesto Morales.
Here.
Madam Chair, there are 8 members present. There is a quorum. Oh, also present, Reg Javier, Executive Director. Peter Cooper, Assistant Director. Jaime Gutierrez, Chief Deputy Director. Tara Armstrong, Chief Information Officer. Michael Cable, Staff Attorney. Mario Maslek, Chief of Operations. And Elizabeth Jones, Chief of Administration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask the panel if they have had a chance to review the agenda for today. And before we make a motion, I'm going to open it up to the public if they have any comments on the agenda today. With that, can we have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, motion carried. Okay, next on the list is the meeting minutes from the December panel meeting. I'm going to open it up to the public for any comments that they may have on the meeting minutes from the last meeting that we had in December. Hearing none, does the panel have any questions regarding the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Reg Javier for his executive report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, panel members, stakeholders, and staff. First, I'd like to just say it's really nice to be back in person again and see so many faces out there. I'd like to also welcome the following managers who will be presenting the proposals to you later this morning: Kellen Hernandez, Ryan Swire, and Phil Boyer. Just on a side note, just want to mention that today is actually Phil's first panel meeting where he's going to be presenting items to you all. So don't haze him too much since he was appointed as the manager of the regional Sacramento regional office. So glad to have you here, Phil. For today's panel meeting, you will see 35 proposals totaling $3.5 million in funding requests. This includes 22 delegation orders in the back of your packet. Also, as we've stated over the course of several panel meetings in a row now, we have been doing a lot of outreach to increase the number of MEC applications we're receiving, because we haven't seen the volume of applications for that bucket of money in comparison to prior years. So just saying that we'd like to see more of these applications come in. As you can see, a few presentations are on the agenda today. First, we're gonna hear from Mario Maslek. He'll be presenting and then asking for action on 2 items, essentially asking for you all to amend the guidelines for the expansion and CCCF programs. That's in an effort to maximize the utilization of those funds because they will sunset on us soon. Mike Cable will also be presenting and asking for action on an appeal that all the information you'll find in your packets. And then we're also going to get an update from our contractor Civic Makers on the stakeholder engagement process and the replacement of what we call our first in, first out process. And it may not be a first in, first out process, but I'll let them talk about that. Looking forward to seeing how that progress is going. And then lastly, today is Chairwoman Janice Roberts and panel member Gloria Bell's last panel meeting with us. They decided to retire as they announced last meeting. Kind of a bummer. Oops, I used my outside voice. But essentially, we're going to hold a reception and a recognition immediately following this panel meeting. What we'll do is we'll close panel business, adjourn the meeting, and then immediately following, we'll do a reception and a few presentations in recognition of them. So for those of you who are here, please stick around and celebrate with us, because we'd love to have you celebrate all of their achievements and contributions to ETP, all of you as a constituency and the people of California over their combined 27 years on the panel, which is pretty incredible. Also, Stuart Knox, Secretary Knox, which is also really great news because that happened between last panel and this panel meeting. He was appointed by the governor as the Labor Secretary of California in late December. For those of you who didn't know, he will be here. So for those of you who haven't already, please do congratulate him, but he will be here also to say a few words in recognition of both Jan and Gloria for all of their work and contributions to us as ETP. And then that's it for me, Madam Chair. With that, unless the panel has any questions for me, I'd like to turn it over to Peter Cooper for his report.
Let me see. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Reg, for that. And good morning, panel members. Congratulations and thank you to Janice and to Gloria. Just an amazing amount of work that you've put in for ETP. We appreciate that. I just want to give you all an update on our Healthcare Advancement Fund and our Workforce Literacy Fund program. The funds will allow us to support employers and workers that we usually cannot serve under a core program, including nonprofit healthcare providers and community-based organizations. Our current data system is not set up to process and manage these programs, so we are in the process of expanding our CaliForce data system to handle them. This includes application, contract maintenance, monitoring systems, and a slew of other things that we have to do to make sure that these funds are going out in a way that's very accountable. This has been a complicated undertaking as we translate the guidelines that all of you approved into a program, into the operations of our CaliForce system. And it's taken a large team effort at ETP, impacting all our units. So I want to say thanks a lot to all of our ETP staff that have been working many hours on this. Because of the complexity and our goal of making sure that the data system was working correctly before we take applications, our timeline got pushed back a little bit. We will be opening applications for both of these at the end of February or early March. And then we'll bring them to the panel, to the May or the June panel for your review and action. We will do as we usually do with these programs, we'll do stakeholder notifications that will be sent out. And to anybody that doesn't get these notifications, please feel free to go to our website and sign up to get them so you know when things are happening regarding these two funds. We also will be holding informational sessions for stakeholders and prospective applicants. With that, I'll turn it over to Tara for her report.
Sure. You guys hear me okay? All right. Morning. I have our information update. Under our Cali program, our CaliForce program that Peter was just talking about, yes, we are heavily working on the application to get the healthcare and the literacy funding out. So it is an undertaking, but definitely something that we've put to the top as a priority. There's changes in the application, like you said, all the way through contract management and how we want to handle those. So we want to make sure that we're testing each piece of that and rolling it out. Also to add that we, under the Cali program, we have done a change to the system limits for the single hours file upload. We've saw some overlap and we want to make sure that that's not happening. We want to make sure the system performance is working as it should. So we've added that system limitation in there. Under our Cali grant system, we're still working with our sister companies. So the Department of Apprenticeship Standards, working on a grant, the ERICA grant, and under the California Workforce Development Board also are under the labor agency. We've released their HRTP grant and the RERP grant and working on invoice functionality. And then under enterprise support, we're actually looking at a voice over internet system, so a VoIP system in our Sacramento office so that we can have better communication with our customers from wherever we are and looking at that hybrid environment and where we're going to be. So that's the end of my update. Thanks.
Thanks, Tara.
Good morning. First of all, congratulations, Chair Roberts, and congratulations, Member Gloria. First off, thank you very much for the opportunity to provide a quick update on the employment training panel's funding. Regarding the funding itself, as Director Javier stated, today's panel meeting is for approximately $3.5 million. That does include 22 delegation orders for a total of $927,728. For this state fiscal year, ETP has approved a total of 52 delegation orders. If all proposals scheduled for this panel meeting are funded today, the panel will be approving approximately 34 projects. After today's panel meeting, the employment training panel will have approximately $37.4 million left in contracting capacity for this fiscal year. Regarding the demand, we have 183 applications in demand. 47 applications are currently with the regional offices. In development, 22 applications are under review by the application and assessment unit, and 114 submitted applications are pending review. The estimated value of the 183 applications is $42.1 million and breaks down as follows. $32.8 million in demand for single employer contracts, $5.2 million in demand for small business, $2.7 million in demand for multiple employer contracts, $649,680 in demand for apprenticeships, and $644,000 in demand for critical proposals. Regarding allocations, we are currently within our allocations for this state fiscal year 22-23. That's the final portion of my report, and I have one action item related to the consent calendar. Madam Chair, I would like to request that the panel members identify which proposals, if any, they would like to pull from today's consent calendar, and then for a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception and identity of those proposals being pulled, which will be heard individually.
I mean, does the panel have any projects they'd like to pull?
I do. I'd like to pull tab 6, Kona Pipeline, and tab 7, Mechanical Analysis/Repair.
Those are the ones also that I was interested in. Anybody else? So with those pulled, I'm going to ask the public if they have any comments before we make a motion to approve the rest of the consent calendar. Have anybody online by any chance? Anybody online? All right. So with that, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar with tab 6 and 7 being pulled for further discussion?
Motion.
Second. Motion, a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
With that, we have the Civic Makers. We have all three of our representatives from Civic Makers here today to discuss the updates on their project. So
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the panel. My name is Virginia Hamilton. I have a small company called Make Fast Studio, but I'm here in this role with my partners at Civic Makers, the most awesome designers you will ever meet. I just want to give some opening comments. They are going to give you a presentation on some of the findings that they have after doing lots and lots of interviews and talking to lots of people. But I just want to start, because I'm old enough, where ETP started. ETP was birthed in the 1980s. ASIO calculators were just coming out. VHS had just been invented. The Walkman had just been invented. And ETP was done by paper. We sent massive amounts of paper around the state. People had all sorts of paper filing systems. And the system grew up for a lot of very good reasons in a way that no longer works. Just like I don't think anybody of us have a Walkman anymore. So I just want to remind everybody that some of this is going to sound critical, but it really is, as Edward Deming, for those of you who've studied organizational development, and other researchers about organizational change have pointed out, 85 to 90% of any problem in a system is the problem of the system and not the people in it. We've been working with a fabulous group of people within ETP who are our design team, Civic Makers, and they have been working to interview, they'll give you all the statistics, but I think over 30 stakeholders and employers and staff. We believe that anytime we design a new system, we need to not only design it so that it works better for the stakeholders and users and customers, but also for the staff. Because we can design a beautiful system that works for employers, but if it doesn't work for the staff, I have years of experience in government, they will figure a way around it. So we want to design for both. And I'm looking at my phone, not because I'm looking at my email, but because it's where my notes are. Reg made this a small crack. I think it's important to point out that when we were hired to look at the FIFO process to see whether there were alternatives to the FIFO process or how it could be improved. And I think it's fair to say that we don't have a FIFO process, first in, first out. We're at a point now where sort of like we started a business called Quick Burger, but it took 3 months to get a burger when you're in your car. So what we did hear from almost everybody were 4 words. We heard, we want this process to be trustworthy. We want this process to be transparent. We want this process to be fast. And last and most, the tricky word is fair, because it's hard to decide what fair is. Is it, we want to make sure that small businesses get more of ETP money? Do we want to make sure that there's equal geographic distribution across the state? Do we want to make sure that we're upskilling vulnerable populations that might have not had the opportunities in other kinds of employment opportunities? So right now we're going to focus on the first 3. How can we make this system more transparent, more trustworthy, and faster and reliable? And then there should be some conversation, I think, among the panel in terms of that last word, fairness, because that's really in part up to you and your role to decide what your priorities are. We are super excited by this. Human-centered design is, in its essence, a problem-solving process by radically including people who are affected by the process, and coming to a new system without bias, sort of with a child's mind, without all the curse of knowledge that some people have who've been involved in it for years, and really deeply understanding the people who are affected by the system. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Britt, and I have here with me, Brittany Henry and Judy Brown, who are my fabulous collaborators, to jump into the details. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Brittany Henry. I am a project facilitator, and for this project, I am your design researcher. So today, my job will be showing you the weeds without getting you into the weeds, because we don't have time for that, right? So what I would like to ask, can the slides be advanced to slide 2, I think? Let me see. Yes. Go back one, please. Let's not immediately jump into the, okay. Hi, so this is our timeline activities. Right now, if you look at the second row, we're in data analysis. Note that data analysis is November through January. It is the most time draining part. We are in between data analysis and ideation. So what we're doing right now is coding and mapping all of the interviews that we've done, and we're translating that into what are our design challenges. Ideation will be the funnest part, in which we actually get to create solutions. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is an artifact that we're producing out of this particular part of the process. It's an ETP application process. Note that I will probably not call this FIFO, just as we've already talked about, we're kind of demystifying that first in, first out phrase there. So this probably looks like a jumbled mess right now, right? We are pretty much, after talking to everybody, we're mapping out kind of what is the life cycle of an application, right? And kind of what are the nuances, but what is the standard process? So this is an artifact that we're producing, and hopefully will become something that's just a part that all staff members have. At the end of this, something that they can refer to as like, okay, I see it moves through here, through here, through here, through here. But as you can see, there's a lot that happens to an application before it even gets to you all at the panel, right? So this is one of the things that the design team and myself and my team is working on. Next slide, please. So some updates. We currently split the design team into 2 different teams. They're looking at all of our impressions. Impressions are unique data that has come from all of the interviews. There's 138 impressions. And so we split up our 2 teams into internal and external stakeholders. So that way we can codify kind of what's happening there. And then what we're going to do is that the teams are learning how to create what we call how might we statements. How might we statements is basically us trying to add language to what are the specific issues that we're experiencing. We talked about lack of clarity, but what does that mean, right? Where are we seeing that lack of clarity? What's going on there? And that's really the hardest part, is to get specific, but still broad, so we actually can kind of create multiple solutions. And we also had an HCD session with all staff on the 14th. We had a total of 68 total participants, which is really incredible, actually, to have that for an HCD session. We usually do those in small, kind of 20-person, but we had 68 staff members of all different types of executive team members, and it was really great to see everybody and just kind of give them an HCD download. Next slide, please. So you all probably have seen this wheel. We showed it last time. This is just what we call the HCD process, right? We are empathize is where we did the interviews. We are currently in define, and we are moving to ideate. Next slide. Next slide, please. So this is what I was talking about earlier. These are our impressions. I am not going to go super deep here, but I just wanted to kind of show that distribution. So unique impressions, again, are basically when we're in an interview and there's some sort of like unique insight, we call that an impression, and we go in and we codify that. We add a theme to it. We're trying to make sense of what's going on here. So we did I believe 35 interviews. I was in every single one of those interviews. It was lovely to talk to everyone, and I had a really good time just getting to know this process. My colleague was joking that after this project, I can probably become a consultant for this process. That will not happen, but I have enjoyed really getting to know this process. And so this is basically breaking down how many unique impressions we've gotten from each different types of stakeholder group. Next slide, please. And then these are our themes. So themes, when I talked about that impression, usually we add a theme to it, so we're kind of making sense. These are the themes that I've identified, and you see application criteria came up 79 times, internal governance structure comes up 62 times, external communications 39, and so on and so on. And you're probably thinking, what does that mean? Can we go to the next slide, please? These are our theme definitions. So that way our design team knows, we all know that when I say application criteria, we can come here and say items related to what should be considered when evaluating an application. So basically, someone maybe mentioned something about like that relates to evaluating a application that they are having trouble with. We would call that application criteria and label that as a theme that is coming up. So that way we can see what are folks mostly talking about, right? What's being said here. Go ahead into the next slide, please. And then this is us mapping out the data. So the design team did all of this. I just want to give like major kudos to the design team who took all 138 Post-its and mapped out these insights. So what you see here is them moving direct quotes that were anonymized, aggregated for confidentiality, and basically mapping them to the process. So you see there's a lot of Post-its in our application submission area, right? And you see a lot in reviewing for eligibility. So really we're clustering here to see where is the critical mass of issues happening so we can start identifying specific challenges. Next slide, please. And what we're doing now is creating how might we statements. These are incredibly broad. These are not going to be the statements that come out there. The statements that we will create will be more specific, but just to give an example, how might we attract more first-time applicants to ETP so that there is a more diverse pool of applicants? So these are the challenge statements that we come up with. So when we move into ideation, we can give this to a group of people and have people start thinking like, okay, what kind of solutions can there be to solve this design challenge? So we're going to come up with probably at least 7 that we can bring to both internal and external stakeholders. And we'll have a fun kind of like ideation session where people just get to be broad and come up with ideas. And then go ahead, next slide, I believe might be Jude's. So I'm going to now hand it over to my colleague and co-conspirator, Judy Brown, to talk about what's next in this process. Thank you.
Hello, Judy Brown, co-founder and managing partner of Civic Makers. Madam Chair, thank you so much. Thank you, panel members, for having us. And I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who has interacted with us, told us your stories, given us your data, your precious data, so that we can learn how to help improve this really critical service. We are a stakeholder as well. We are a certified small business in the state of California. So this is really important to us as well and close to our hearts. So I just wanted to give us a quick update on what's next. Before I do that, I want to thank Virginia Hamilton, who is Civic Magic in human form. It's such an honor to be able to do this work with her and to be entrusted with this important work as well. So what we have coming up, as Britt mentioned, ideation is kind of a fancy word for we're just coming up with ideas based on the data that has been given to us. And the prototyping and testing, that means that we are going to take these ideas, we're going to bring them to life a little bit, we're going to make them tangible, we're going to allow for our stakeholders to interact with them before we make any decisions, right? Before we put anything written down into paper, before we put anything into rules and regulations, we are going to test and make sure that they're feasible, desirable, and viable. And then that is looking like the month of March, and we are looking to make recommendations by the end of April. And throughout that, we will be continuing our ongoing communication with the staff. Big ups to Jaime over here for all of his communication, coordination with us. And we are available for any questions or concerns as they come up. Thank you so much again for your trust.
Does the panel have any questions for the Civic Makers? Right. So with that, I guess we have Mario who's going to be talking to us about some of the amendments to the expansion projects.
Good morning, Chair and panel members. So this morning I have the first presentation is on expansion. We basically want to amend the guidelines that were approved last year. The reason for this is that unlike in our core funding, we can reinvest the unused funds and contracts into new contracts. With expansion and CCCF, there's definitely a sunset to when we lose authority for those funds. And that is next year, 2024 on June 30th. So we want to make sure in our core, generally, the performance rate is anywhere between 75% and 80% on any contract. We expect that the performance rate would be the same for these. And as you can see in front of you, those are the expansion guidelines. To help maximize that performance, we don't have time to take recaptured funds and put them into a new round of contracts. So we want to make sure that we are rearranging these funds and putting them to where they're going to get used to maximize, to take advantage of as much of the $50 million in this case as we possibly can. To do that, we want to do that in a couple of different ways. One of them is to allow amendments above the cap. And another one is to allow those amendments to be considered phase one training so that it can be used retroactively for any contractors that have already began training to cover that training. And another method is to allow the extension of the terms beyond 24 months, but no later than March 30th, 2024. That gives us about 3 months to close out all of the accounting. All of these guidelines already have in them clawback provisions. We've already engaged with all of the contractors who are not meeting the benchmarks and have started working on getting some of the funds back. We've earmarked a certain amount already that's coming back to us, and we're looking forward to reinvesting into the more successful projects that are meeting their benchmarks. So on that note in front of you, you can see the draft of the amended guideline. The first page is exactly the same. Can you please go to the next page? And this is where the change comes, where it's all highlighted in yellow and with a strikeout. So we're saying that it can be amended above the program project cap and that we should be considered phase one training. And then on the very last page, we've added a provision that allows for an amendment of the term beyond 24 months, but not to exceed March 30th, 2024. With that, I'm asking for approval for from the panel members of these amendments to this guideline.
Does the panel have any questions for Mario? So Mario, just a quick, some more clarification. You said there was, when we talked yesterday, you said there's about $2.5 million that was still out there. Is that correct?
Correct. So far, basically what happened is we've started sending out notices to these contractors from legal. And some of them have already said voluntarily that they're not going to use all the funds. And we've marked about $2.2 million that are already ready to come back. Now we're in a process of getting those amended out of those contracts and they'll be ready to be reinvested. We're probably about halfway through this process. So this is happening as contracts are hitting their 1 year mark, about halfway through the term of their agreement. There's the provision in both of these guidelines that says that they have to be at 60%. So we started engaging them as they're hitting that 1 year timeline, asking them how they're doing, if they have a performance improvement plan, things like that. And some of them are replying with saying that they will not use all the funds, which is very good to be upfront about that. And we can reinvest them and make sure that we're maximizing their use overall.
Right. Yeah. So just a comment to the public here is that, these expansion funds, we're really excited that ETP gets to administer them and, work through some of these critical areas that we have the expansion funds on. But it's also critical that those who apply for them actually apply within their means, because it's very hard for ETP staff to kind of rewind some of this money that's left on the table and find other alternatives for the money. Because if we don't spend it, we lose it. And it's not a good thing from an ETP perspective, from our performance issues, if we lose that money. So going forward, we have 2 new expansion projects coming up that Peter mentioned. We've got the literacy program and the healthcare program coming up, and those who are applying for it, please be cognizant of what you can spend, because when you all of a sudden halfway through the project, you say, I don't think I'm going to spend 50% of what I asked for, then that creates more of a problem. So just be cognizant of that as you go ahead and apply for future funding on these expansion funds, so. Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask the panel if we have actually a proposal on the table, but before we make a proposal, I'm going to ask the public if they have any comments regarding this, this proposal with the amendments.
No hands raised at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, any comments from the panel before we have a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second from Gloria and Rick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, panel. The second thing is this exact same spiel, except now for CCCF, the community college funds. They're in a little bit of a different situation. We never imposed caps on those, so we're not asking for the ability to amend above the cap because that's already inherent. And if we can just show the guidelines, please, with the highlights. On the second page, the only amendment to the guideline is to allow the funds that are added in to be considered phase one funding. And on the very last page, it has the same provision that an amendment can be done to extend the term beyond 24 months, but not to exceed March 30th, 2024.
So I'm going to ask the public if they have any questions regarding the expansion funds for the CCF guidelines. I'm going to ask the panel if they have any questions regarding it. Hearing none, do I have a motion? We have a motion.
Second.
We have a first and a second from Gretchen and Rick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion carried. Thanks, Mario.
Thank you, panel.
With that, we have Mike up.
Yes. Chair Roberts, panel members, good morning. Sorry for about to suck the fun out of the room. The lawyer tends to do that. And also, Jan, Gloria, I'm personally going to miss you too.
Thank you, Mike.
So we're here today to discuss the next step in regards to a second level appeal that was submitted by Capital Engineering Consultants, ETP contract number ET200359. First, a little background. You may recall from the training sessions that we did, I believe last year, that a contractor has the right to appeal a final adverse decision. And in this case, there's a final contract closeout and notice of overpayment, which is being appealed. According to section 4450 of ETP's regulations, you may recall there's a two-level appeal process. The first level of appeal is to the executive director, Reg Javier, which must be submitted within 30 days and include a statement setting forth the issues and facts that are in dispute. Any documents or any other writings that support the appeal or the grounds of the appeal should be forwarded with that appeal, and the executive director will issue a written determination within 60 days of receiving that appeal. This was done in this case, and as you can see in the panel packets, I provided copies of the documents. Second, the second level of appeal is to the panel, which must be submitted within 10 days of receipt of the executive director's determination. The second level appeal should include a statement setting forth the appellant's arguments as to why the executive director's determination should be reversed by this panel. And supporting documents or any other writings shall be submitted with that second level appeal. This too was done in this case, and all documents have been included in your panel packet. Now, as quoted and cited in your packet memorandum, according to section 4450B2 of ETP's regulations, upon receipt of a second level appeal, like we have here, the panel must take one of the following actions. First, refuse to hear the matter, giving the appellant written reasons for the denial, or conduct a hearing at a regularly scheduled meeting date, panel meeting, or delegate the authority to conduct a hearing to a subcommittee of one or more panel members or to the administrative law judge of the Office of Administrative Hearings. Therefore, we're here today for the panel to choose one of these three options. This is not going to be a day dedicated to hearing a matter on the merits. There'll be public comment. There's allowed for public comment, but we're not taking testimony. We're not going to be receiving any exhibits today. Rather, the question for you is what to do next. And in this case, as you can see from the panel packet documents, the appeal at issue here does not present any fact or issue in dispute, but rather the appellant merely contends that it should have received additional opportunities and personal communications that's not included, not required, or even allowed in their contract, nor in ETP's codes or regulations. Therefore, there being no grounds to adjudicate, staff recommendation is that the panel move to refuse to hear this matter in accordance with section 4450B2A1, that no hearing take place as there are no grounds for appeal, no documents to review or to consider, thus instructing your legal unit, myself, to prepare and serve a written denial to the contractor consistent with ETP's regulations. That's the gist of it, and I'm available for any questions the panel may have in this matter.
Just a couple of comments here is that it's very unusual to get the appeal here in front of the panel. I think serving 18 years on the panel, I may have had one appeal come before the panel. So it's pretty rare. But, you know, it's a new day today, and we're actually trying to, you know, what happened in the past is not happening going forward today or going forward. So I want, if you had a chance to read the appeal, if there's any comments from the panel regarding the appeal, please refer to Michael about that, and, you know, he can answer any questions you have. Questions? Okay, I'm going to open it up for public comment. If there's anybody in the audience that have any public comment regarding this appeal.
And there's no hands raised at this time, ma'am.
Okay, we have somebody. Did you want to come forward?
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Chuck Sheneman with Capital Engineering. This was our first opportunity to participate in the ETP program. We have a consultant that helped us on this effort that has been involved for many years. And we're told by our consultant that this is the first time this kind of a situation has occurred in his experience. And it looks to us as, you know, a neophyte, that it's pretty obvious a couple of things were not done. Now, one on our part, a button wasn't pushed to submit some labor, that the labor was posted on the site, was there for staff to review. And also in a closeout procedure that has typically been used, it was not used in our case, wherein this would have been discovered. So kind of in the interest of the, you know, the effort here to engage the public, personally, we will never participate in this program again. You know, if it would have to be really different. There was a lot of overhead or whatever for on our part to provide the paperwork necessary to support. But from our perspective, these occurrences, and then to have with such vigor support of a position that doesn't even allow us to get this on the table, to me, just doesn't make sense. So thank you very much for listening. Any question of me?
Well, just, you know, I'm sorry that this is coming before us today, but obviously there's, you know, a lot of mitigating factors that regarding why you didn't perform. You did have a consultant that, you know, has been in the business for quite a long time. So this was an oversight on that part as well. So at this point, but thank you for your comments. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments to Heineman? Okay.
I was going to say I could actually, there's maybe 2 points that I just wanted to correct as for your comments as well as the public comment. One, that we have done this before. I've been at ETP for 5 years, and I would say this is the second level appeal that I've had to handle. And in those instances, they were allocated out. One was by written determination. Another one was given to very broad to handle as a subcommittee. And then second would just be a factual point, that although there was communication at each of those communications from fiscal to the contractor, the response was, we get it, close out the project. So they were following the instructions from the contract.
Just to be clear for the panel to make a determination, Mike, can you give us the 3 options again so we can make them?
Certainly. 3 options are One is to refuse to hear the matter, giving the appellant written reasons for the denial. Two, conduct a hearing at a regularly scheduled meeting. Three, delegate the authority to conduct a hearing to a subcommittee of one or more panel members or to an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearing.
Well, is everyone clear on our decision here? So
I'd like to make a motion. Yes, you read my mind, Madam Chair.
Second.
Refuse to hear the matter, giving the applicant written reasons for the denial as previously stated.
Second.
we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion carried. Thanks, Mike. And it wasn't so bad, was it, Mike? All right. So with that, next on the agenda, we have actually to hear the action on the proposals. So we're going to actually hear the ones that we pulled at number 6 first. The positions here.
Good morning, panel members. If you please turn to tab number 6, Kana Pipeline Incorporated. This will be Kana Pipeline's first ETP contract. Kana Pipeline is requesting $110,492 in total ETP funding. They plan to train a total of 140 trainees. 140 retrainees over 2 job numbers. Kana Pipeline's headquarters and their one location is in Riverside, California. This training project will provide trainees a valuable skill set in a growing industry where they will learn construction processes and the operation of numerous tools and equipment. In addition, Kana Pipeline is requesting productive lab training for all trainees in this project, where they may receive between 0 to 9 hours of productive lab training with the potential reimbursable value of $28,980. Which equates to 26% of the requested funding amount. Here today representing Kana Pipeline and ready to address questions from the panel is Guadalupe Insminger, Training and Development Manager, and Joshua Locke, Director of Operations.
Yeah, come on forward.
Oh, not a problem. Yeah, just up the podium.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and panel. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
No worries.
I actually brought some materials. I'm not sure. I don't have anything electronic, but I brought some materials if I'm allowed to hand them out, and then I'll be available for any questions that you have on our application.
Okay, that's fine. Why don't you go ahead and, but before we begin, there was, I'm going to ask if you want to go ahead and, I'm going to ask the panel if they have their concerns, why we pulled what we did, and then maybe you can answer those questions, okay? So,
Thank you. So I had pulled this contract because it seemed like a lot of the curriculum that you're instructing is related to construction DAS approved apprenticeship curriculum. And I was wondering if you could elaborate for me as to why it doesn't appear that you're utilizing apprenticeship programs for construction training.
We're actually not using apprenticeship programs at Kana Pipeline. We hire all of our laborers direct, and we hire at a lot of different levels of skill sets, including zero training or experience in construction. So we don't really have, we don't use the state apprenticeship program at Kana Pipeline. We use our own internal training and development program for training all of our new hires and retraining all of our incumbents.
Okay. It did seem a little off. It seems like apprenticeship is the best kind of practice for construction curriculum itself. But it also seemed to be that, is it true that much of your work is related to public works, municipal undergrounding?
No, it's private. Most of our work is for commercial and residential.
Okay, got it. Application states otherwise, but municipal water pipeline systems, municipal cities.
There is a sector, do you know the percent, Josh, that we do, Joshua?
25.
There is a percent of work that we do that's public works, but the majority of our work is private.
Okay, so then those workers are being paid prevailing wages when they're doing the public works. Okay, so then the workforce that you have, and if it's 25% on prevailing wage public works jobs, and if they are switching between jobs, their wages are therefore switching as well. So I take issue with that because that creates a dynamic with those workers themselves where they're not able to succinctly rely on wages that they know that they can support their families with if they're being paid a prevailing wage over here and then they're assigned to another job over here that's private rate and then suddenly their wages are much lower. So as I take a look at different contracts coming forward for us, I always take the perspective of what is best for the worker. What kind of training and curriculum are they receiving that is going to be able to advance them in their careers so that they can go and earn higher wages and be consistent on that their wages continue to go up and that they don't have this kind of roller coaster effect that I see, not necessarily in your contract, but definitely elsewhere where there's this dynamic of putting the workers to work on both public works projects and private works that creates this strain in their income.
They don't tend to, if you want to address it, they don't tend to move. Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah.
We have different levels of employees. We have different positions and levels, so 1 through 4. We only have our highest trained on public works projects. Everyone else is typically on private. So there's not a large swing. There's a base rate. And there's an issue in construction. And that issue is that people go and they stick with a company and they don't get trained. So we are trying to provide a career path for people to get up into management and other positions, not just be a laborer for a position forever.
Correct. So related to the curriculum that you're offering them from pipe layer 1 up to pipe layer 2, 3, and 4, and also I see here for the foreman and superintendent, good job on that. Tell me a little bit more about how they're progressing from pipe layer 1 all the way up to pipe layer 4 and what that kind of curriculum and training looks like and how soon their wages go up or they advance from pipe layer 1 to pipe layer 2.
May I pass these out? This is directly related to that. That'd be great, thanks. So I only brought a single copy of what I'm handing out right now, or what's being handed out for me is manuals that we created to introduce a worker, a laborer to the pipe layer curriculum, so to speak. So the manual is reviewed in a classroom setting over a period of 8 to 10 hours. As you can see, there's a tremendous amount of information in there. It's very specific to underground wet utility, various tools and different types of processes. So what we would do is we have a beginner manual that I didn't hand out. This is for our labor. It's a smaller version of the one that you have because typically what would happen is we would hire someone without any experience and put them through a 90-day training program. Everybody that we hire goes through a 90-day training program, but the laborers is specific to someone who doesn't really ever had operated a tool before or anything like that. So they could have worked anywhere. But during that 90 days, we give them daily evaluations with a electronic scorecard that their superintendent fills out for them every single day, so that we can monitor both the laborer and the superintendent to make sure that the new hire is being exposed to every level of competencies that we want them to gain during those 90 days. So we grade their performance and we grade the superintendent's performance to make sure that they're not just putting them aside on an easier task so that they can stay productive, because efficiencies definitely drop when a superintendent has a new hire on their job site. So during those 90, the introductory training classroom for a new hire for a green laborer is about 4 hours, maybe 6, depending on how interactive they are with the training. And then after that, they go into the field, and after the daily evaluation for 90 days, they would come back and start being introduced to the manual that you have, which is for a pipe layer. That's meant for someone with at least a year of experience, all the way up through any number of years, because we want to train them on Kana Pipeline's approach to all of the different topics that are there. But of course, Productive Lab is really where they actually do most of the training, because you can't teach someone how to use tools in a classroom setting. They have to be out in a job site to actually perform the tasks many, many times for a specific number of hours per task before they're deemed competent in that area, whatever it may be. So for laborers, we have about 12 competencies that we expect them to achieve within those 90 days. And then for pipe layers, it ranges from 12 to 16, depending on their level. We have pipe layer 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we also have operators. One of you has an operator manual because I printed one of those. We also have operators at levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. The level 4 pipe layers and operators are also given many foreman responsibilities because they're called an operator 4, but they're really in training to become a superintendent. So the timeline for each role varies based on what the level is. As I mentioned, a laborer role is only for 90 days before we graduate them into being a pipe layer 1. Pipe layer 1 has to be in that role for 2.5 years before they're eligible to be promoted to pipe layer 2. Pipe layer 2 is a 3-year period. And then pipe layer 3, I believe, is a 3-year period also. Pipe layer 4, there's not an ending period, but they wouldn't be able to qualify to become a superintendent theoretically for 3 years. However, we do fast track a lot of these depending on the abilities that the employee brings to the job, how much, drive they have, how quick they learn, things like that. So we make exceptions, but so those timelines are guidelines that we give to the new hires so that they know when to expect. And then with each level of change, there's a range of salary that they get from pipe layer 1 to pipe layer 2, and so on and so forth. So we also have a incentive program for the superintendents to motivate them to get all of our pipe layers certified in every competency, pipe layers and operators, in a period of 6 months. So the training program is for 480 hours. We give 480 hours of Productive Lab training. We applied for what we want. We know what the state will, what's acceptable for Productive Lab hours, but we spend all of that money doing those trainings to ensure that the employees have an ample opportunity to learn safely how to operate all of the tools and be in the trenches, and there's a lot of peril in what they're doing. So anyway, we specifically give them the 90-day period for all the new hires. We incentivize the superintendents to get them competent in every category within 6 months. That way, when they get to their annual review, they have the most opportunity to be increased in their wage to the higher end of that range, and then graduated to the next category if they've achieved all the competencies within the 2 years or whatever the period of time is for that level.
So is most of the curriculum offered on the job site itself?
Absolutely. All of the curriculum is in that manual, and that manual is available to them, a hard copy and electronically, but they have to actually learn every single competency in that manual in the field.
How are they learning this competency and this manual? Or is it on their own, or is it self kind of taught? Or that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like, where is the instruction coming from? And how effective is that? I'm very familiar and aware of the apprenticeship model where they go to work 5 days out of the week. They're earning while they're learning. They have ratio qualifications on the job site. So they have to be paired with a journey level kind of master of the craft with an apprentice on the job site. They don't receive any productive lab payment for that. Then the apprentice goes, at least in my craft, 2 nights out of the week to school at a physical location, a school, to receive additional curriculum training in the classroom with hands-on learning. So
Exactly that. So we introduced that over a period of 4 weeks, 2 hours at a time, depending on the role. So a pipe layer would come in on Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. for 2 hours of classroom instruction, and then they would go out into the field for practice. So that manual is introduced over 4 2-hour classes. And then we have a field training superintendent who goes out from site to site to support the superintendent's training efforts for all of the new hires. So the superintendent is directly responsible for the actual hands-on instruction, or one of their lead men, depending on the situation of the site. And then as an additional support, we have a training superintendent who will go from site to site for specific additional support. So they're doing exactly that. They're getting classroom theory, and then they're getting the hands-on in the field every day.
with 2-ish instructors going to all the different job sites to teach the approximately like 135 people.
We have a superintendent at every site who's directly responsible for the training effort. The superintendent will sometimes have one of his leads. If he's working with an inspector or someone and he can't be with the person, then the lead is now in charge of the trainee. But we have one support field trainer who will go out so that he can do, we just hired him in November. So we're in a slower hiring period right now. It's been raining. And so, but the intent is to have him go out and host other types of training on the job sites. Right now, he's just getting familiar with everybody who's in the field.
Questions?
So I also was looking at this, but thanks again for coming before the panel. I mean, this is your first time, and we're so excited when we see new blood into the system, and we appreciate you coming forward. So it sounds like you're very knowledgeable around ETP. Have you had any projects in the past with other companies, or?
Yes, I worked at a packaging company in Corona, California, and I was there when we started participating in the ETP program there. And so I was one of the managers, and at that time, I was only involved with the direct training of my department. So I got familiar with the process, with all of the forms. It was all paper then too. That was about 5 years ago. And so when I got hired at Kana Pipeline to become the training and development manager, I immediately suggested that we open an application, because there is a much greater effort at Kana Pipeline than there was at the packaging company I was in for the training program. So.
Well, that's great to hear. Now, my question again was productive lab, and you were very clarified, especially in the manual. I got to see all the heavy equipment that you use. Just going forward, because I think you're going to be successful on this project, but going forward, when I look at productive lab training under the curriculum, and this is just for your benefit and also for the panel going forward, is that it's not a paste and copy of everything that you have under commercial skills goes under productive lab. That's just not how it works. So productive lab is very specified as to what kind of equipment that you're going to be using it on. It's not, how to use a hand tool, how do you clean a bathroom, or how do you sweep the floors. That's not what productive lab is. So when you're looking at your commercial skills, look at the very specific commercial skills, like the excavator, the, big heavy equipment and that sort of thing, which can't be transfer to a classroom setting. You know, you have to have somebody one-to-one training on that piece of equipment that can't be used in a classroom. So that's what I'm saying, is that you just did a cut and paste of everything that all your training under Productive Lab, and that's not how it works.
I do understand very clearly what you're saying, madam. What if, for example, you know, the use of a shovel would seem like a very elementary thing and not require a tremendous amount of Productive Lab. However, when you're exposing underground utilities, it's a very tenacious situation, and you can easily overexpose or break an existing line. So the use of a shovel in that scenario, it's critical that a new person is heavily supervised, because there's a lot at stake. It's very dangerous, and it could be very expensive if the person should cross the line with a simple shovel. So I do understand, and I could see how it could be deemed that it's not necessarily a Productive Lab setting on how to use a trenching shovel or even a round shovel. But unfortunately, a lot of the times when they're using them, if they're picking up rocks to move them over, it's not dangerous. But if they're using them to expose utilities, it really does require a tremendous amount of effort to keep everyone safe.
Yeah, and I understand all around the safety procedures and that sort of thing. I come from a manufacturing background, but I'm not familiar with field work, and a lot of this is field work that you're doing. And, but, you know, you have it down to about 25% of your, you know, your Productive Lab, which is, you know, I don't know what the perimeter is. I mean, we really haven't defined that yet. Maybe going forward we will. But it is that, you know, it has to be one-to-one training. So whoever you have hired or whoever you have on board right now, it has to be to one-to-one. You can't just put somebody out on an excavator and say, go for it.
Right.
You're gonna go look at the guy doing the shovel work, you know?
Absolutely,
So, I
we
mean,
cannot.
It's gotta be really, you gotta be hip to hip with that person going forward. So that's
Yes.
why when I see just a cut and paste on a, I worry that, you know, it's gonna go awry.
For sure, that's really, again, meant to be an introduction so that the new hire is clear on how we want them, but it's way too short of a section on any single one of those topics. They're not actually work instructions. They're meant to be an introduction to all of the activities that we want them, that they're gonna perform, and to explain how we want them to approach it. But it's 100%, it's 98% learned in the field with one-on-one training, as you just described.
Okay, well, very good. I mean, I don't have any problem with this project, you know, and I think you've been very clear about explaining different situations, and I appreciate you coming forward today, especially providing us that booklet. I mean, that really kind of clarified some things for me as well.
Great.
So, again, congratulations on your first time coming before the panel.
Thank you.
So, anything else?
I just said going forward too, to take a look at the apprenticeship model, either union or non-union, but there's a lot of synergy there to meet the needs of your. That's also, in my mind, at least bettering the workforce for themselves for the long run of things.
Thank you.
Before we make a motion, I'm going to open it up to the public if they have any comments regarding this proposal. Right, so do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Got a first and a second to approve this project for, what was the amount? $149. Yeah. 101. Oh, what happened to the 101 here? Oh, it's an error then on the other one. Okay, so for 110,492, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you so much for coming, and
Thank you.
good success on the project. 7,
Good morning, panel members. Next, we have tab 7, a proposal from Mechanical Analysis Repair, Inc., doing business as Martech. They are a first-time contractor requesting $151,800 to train 80 workers, including 30 new employees. Training will take place at Martech's location in Lodi. Here representing Martech to answer any questions are James Bell, Training Manager, Jill Mewson, Consultant, Synergy Management Consultants.
this project, so Gretchen, do you?
I'm glad that you were present for the last applicant because it's almost essentially the same kind of concerns and questions. So go ahead and respond to those of just construction curriculum that's being trained for the workforce. Why are you not utilizing apprenticeship, or are you? Are there pathways for your workers to get into apprenticeship? And a little bit about the quality of the curriculum that they're receiving and how it advances them in their careers.
Okay. Good morning, panel, and thank you for your time and consideration with this. In regards to that question, we hire people who have no skills to also having skilled workers. And so our goal also is to bring them up to a higher wage as well, not to just keep them where they're at. And so what we're looking at here as this first time applicant is to be able to take those employees and to give them the skills that they need, the knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform adequately. You know, I understand some of those concerns that you had in regards to wages and prevailing wages. We're in the same situation here. I'm actually a retired battalion chief. And so my first job as a fireman, I was making a minimum wage while somebody next to me was making more. I get that and understand that. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that our employees also have fair and competitive wages so that they know how to live, or that they know what their check's going to look like and how they can live. And what other questions did you have in regards to that?
So how do you do that then?
Okay.
Because it looks like from the work that is stated in your application as to what you're doing, working in city, municipalities, SMUD, private and government agencies in Northern California. So if you have a workforce that's transitioning between a public works job and getting paid a really good, solid prevailing wage, and then suddenly they're transitioned to a private works job and their wages drop by a significant percentage, how is that worker able to sustain their life and provide for their family if their wages are fluctuating like that?
Right. And we tried to give them a competitive wage as well within MarTech so that there isn't that big swing on there. And so with that, when we go out and we work at these municipalities, you know, some of the things that we do is we rebuild pumps with all the current flooding. So with the flood waters, what we go out there and do is that these workers go out and figure out how to build pumps and how to manufacture these pumps and parts inside of our shop with the CNC division, the machinist division, the safety valve division, the millwrights, painting, and the confined space rescue. And so everybody has an opportunity to grow, and they're just not stagnant. So we really want to see our employees grow. We want to see them be able to utilize everything that they use or they learn out in the field so that we can provide a safe environment for not only our employees, but also for the state of California public.
Super important. And have you looked at the apprenticeship model for your workforce?
We have looked at that, and we've contacted the local community college and worked directly with them in hiring new students that are coming out of that program.
Okay, so look into it a little bit more. She knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. So the curriculum that's offered through an apprenticeship offers the opportunity for that worker to earn while they learn on the job site instead of the productive lab kind of component. And then 2 nights out of the week, they go to school for free. And they're advancing in their construction career by checking off each of the curriculums and classes that they've earned, and then their wages boost up. And then it benefits you because they're getting the training that you needed that's being done by journey level kind of instructors that are masters of their craft.
Right. Yeah. And I'm familiar with that. I actually work closely with the California Professional Firefighters in their CalJack program.
Okay. Dan, your turn.
All right. Again, thanks for coming. First time. Thanks, Joe, for bringing somebody here for the first time. I appreciate that. Again, you know what I'm going to say, right? So, you know, I'm looking at your productive lab on your curriculum, but under your productive lab narrative, I only see a few things that you're going to do productive lab. One is code welding repair, code and specialty welding, and pump repair. But when I look under your productive lab, under your curriculum, you've got about 125 items under here. So, you know, this is what I worry about is that, you know, it's not everything in the kitchen sink under productive lab. It's very specific. And you mentioned the specifics in the narrative. So let's keep to that versus what I see under the curriculum. But it could go awry. And even though you only have 25% of your dollars under productive lab, you know, just Jill, going forward, just be very specific. And we talked about this before about really looking at productive lab as what it is. I mean, it's not everything. And A lot of those things can be done in a classroom setting, or it doesn't need to be done on a one-on-one situation.
I saw the 130, Jan, and I went. Too late to change it.
You know, I'm
Um,
gonna say something.
Yeah, and, I will make a note, because this was submitted several months ago, right? I'll make a note to make sure that we pare down that productive lab, and it's.
Yeah, and you did in the narrative, it just, you didn't do it in the. And, there is no rules or regulations regarding how much productive lab we have or what it looks like. I'm just trying to narrow it down a little bit so we don't get too carried away with it all. So that's kind of the purposes behind it. So I don't have any other questions. Does the panel have any questions regarding, this project? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to open it up to the public. If they have any comments regarding this proposal? And do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve, and that is for $151,800. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion carried. Good luck.
Thank you.
Tab number 9.
Tab number 9, single employers, which is for Alliance Environmental Holdings LLC. They are a repeat contractor requesting $261,648 to train 333 retrainees and 20 job creation trainees located in various locations statewide. Please note the prior contract had earnings of 60% of the approved amount, and this proposal has been right-sized accordingly. Representing the proposal today is Jeanette Terquez, Assistant Safety Director, and Barry Menzel, Consultant.
Hello, board. Thank you for having me today. My name is Jeanette Enriquez. Did you have any, okay, I work for Alliance Environmental, sorry. I am the Safety Director, handling all of the training. I work with multiple branches that we have, Northern, Southern California. We do the construction safety training as well as a lot of environmental training.
Thanks for coming today. Does the panel have any questions regarding this proposal?
Just a quick question for job number 2, the production operator position.
Yes, ma'am.
States that their starting wage could be as low as $18.10 an hour. And then for job number 1, the priority module, production operator starts off at $28.40 an hour. So how soon would those under job number 2 that are coming in under a new hire essentially advance to a higher wage?
Well, it's based on a lot of the knowledge and the technique. So we look at the experience, of course, what they have coming in, the training, and then their knowledge out in the field. It's evaluated quarterly, so they are able to advance pretty quickly if they know more.
Okay, so you provide them the curriculum and the training that
Correct.
we're helping with, and then their wages advance.
Correct.
Potentially quarterly.
That's correct, ma'am.
Hearing none, I'm going to open up the public if they have any comments regarding this proposal. All right, so with that, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Alliance Environmental Holdings LLC and the ETP funding amount of $261,648.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have tab 10, a proposal from GNC Auto Body Inc. They are a repeat contractor requesting $393,000 to train 190 workers, including 150 new employees. Training will take place at their 29 locations throughout California. Here representing GNC Auto Body to answer any questions are Sean Cruzat, CEO, Jill Musin, Consultant, Synergy Management Consultants.
Good morning. Thank you. We got 30 now, Phil. We went up one. Thank you for hearing our request and for supporting us with funding in 2019. We're the largest family-owned collision repair business in the United States that's left. We've grown at a very fast rate over the last few years. We have 600 employees. Although we're the largest, all of our locations are located in Northern California. We currently have 30 locations, planning on opening 8 more this year and being at 38 by the end of the year. We are very proud of our ability to recruit and train women to an industry that tends to be dominated by men. And we are a large employer of veterans, including my father who started the company, our CFO, and many of our technicians and management. In the previous contract, we were able to train our staff on new aluminum procedures, improve customer satisfaction and quality metrics, resulting in better trained and happier employees. Since that time, electric vehicles are much more prevalent in the marketplace. And those vehicles require different repair procedures, equipment, and technology to create a quality and safe repair, not just safe for the customer, but also safe for the employee with the high voltage going through those vehicles. We plan to train a small segment of incumbents on advanced EV repair technology, and our focus is training new hires in the new repair technology that are on EV vehicles. While the last contract focused on basic repair competence and aluminum repair, this contract's going to focus heavily on EV and all the new technology on the vehicles. It's important to note there are very few collision repair training options in Northern California, and we find that 80% of our new hires require complete training that we provide. I'm happy to answer any questions you all have.
You stated that you have 25 veterans that are going to be included in this contract. I wasn't sure based off of how it's presented in the proposal where they fit under job number 1, retrainee, or job number 2, job creation. Okay, so then those veterans are going to be getting lower wages.
That's
Or-
not correct.
Not correct. Elaborate for me, make me feel better.
Okay, so we always pay veterans more, right?
Yes.
Because they deserve that, right? So let me just take a peek at my,
I'm looking specifically at the text. So the technicians under job creation 2, starting off at $21 an hour or $25.01 an hour, versus the retrainee starting off for the techs at $38.70 an hour.
let me go back to the question about vets. So vets, the lowest wage on vets should be 23, not 21.
Staff, can we please change that? Thank you.
And then what's your second question?
How soon are the veterans advancing themselves for that? Because as far as being able to achieve the other wage for the retrainees where they're starting at $38.70 an hour, going up to 45 as opposed to 23 now an hour, how soon are they working themselves up?
Every 90 days, we do a review and make adjustments on wages based on growth and skill. And to reach the top range, it's usually between a 2 to 4 year period of time, depending on the ability of the employee to grow their skill base.
Okay, so then going back to job number 1, retrainee for the text, earning between $38.70 an hour up to $45 an hour. They're being retrained like you were specifying earlier because of the EVs and having the, okay.
It's a really small subset. I mean, there's
Yeah.
600 employees in this company.
Okay.
Other questions regarding this proposal? I just have a couple.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, we've just opened the panel up for non-priority industries, which I think is a good thing, you know, because they haven't been able to come in the past. And this is your second one under a non-priority industry, which has kind of been unheard of, you know, in the past. We really haven't funded many. So, and you were 100% successful. So that's great news.
Thank you.
You know, my question is that I'm not familiar with the auto body business, so you're going to have to kind of elaborate a little bit on what
Not a problem.
exactly is going on with that. So under your productive lab, tell me what pre-post scanning is. What does that entail? Why you have to have that in pre, you know?
What that is?
Yeah, productive lab. Why do you have to have, you can't do it in the classroom. It has to be done in the floor or
Yeah, absolutely. Every car is different. So part of teaching it is how do you hook up the scan tool and how reading those results. And a Toyota might have different results than a Honda or Ford. So it's having that master technician right there with the trainee, helping them or showing them how to do it, and then helping them decipher what the results of those are.
There's a report that comes out.
Sorry.
And with all the modules, connects to all the modules in the vehicle, and reading those and understanding what they mean is very complex. Pre and post scanning has everything to do with vehicle safety. So if your vehicle gets in an accident and they don't do a pre and post scan and make sure that all of the modules within the vehicle are set back to the way they should be, and you're coming up on an overpass, your front camera might think that that's an object and stop you, and 9 other cars hit you from behind. So it's a huge important technology that we have today that there's really no training options for, and it's very complex.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thanks for the clarification. Like I said, I'm not familiar with much of this information. But you do have it narrowed down, which is really good. And I know that you actually right-sized your productive lab. I did read that it was a lot higher than, and the analyst and the manager kind of right-sized it down to about a 25% range, which, like I said, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it's something that I can deal with more than like 75% productive lab, especially in your business, because everything could be productive lab. I mean, based on safety issues or whatever. So I'm okay with that. So any other?
I had one more quick question, just to make sure you're not paying piece rates, you're paying hourly wages, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Right, any other questions from the panel? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public if they have any comments regarding this proposal. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion to approve.
Scrolling, sorry. A motion to approve GNC Auto Body Inc. and the ETP funding amount of $393,000.
Second. Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion carried. Good luck on this one as well.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have tab 11, a proposal from Novice LLC, doing business as Novice Corporation. They are a first-time contractor requesting $294,630 to train 210 workers, including 40 new employees. Training will take place at Novice's location in Oakland. Here representing Novice to answer any questions are Andy Clayson, VP of Services, Bill Sack, Consultant, National Training Company, Inc.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Andy Clayson. I'm the Vice President of Navis. We're a small software company in Northern California. We do marine terminal logistics software. And when I say that at a cocktail party, people's eyes glaze over and they move on to talk to someone else. But let me try to put it in a little bit more exciting terms. Ripped from the headlines, you've heard about the supply chain crisis and the problem of getting everybody their toilet paper during COVID. In the center of that are container terminals, and we do software that moves the containers through those terminals faster by optimizing how they move around. So that's what our job is. It has made for very interesting times for our company during COVID and in the months following COVID. We hope that it's following COVID. We have been very, very busy. And so we're doing a lot of hiring, as you've seen from our proposal. And central to us being successful is training. So I'm really excited for this opportunity. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have.
Open it up public for any comments that they may have.
No hands raised at this time.
None. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the Navis LLC DBA contract number ET 23-0260, the amount of $294,630.
Have a second?
Second.
First and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have tab 12, a proposal from Niagara Bottling LLC. They are a repeat contractor requesting $299,000 to train 500 workers. Training will take place at Niagara Bottling's 8 locations throughout California. Here representing Niagara Bottling to answer any questions are Derek Thomas, Senior Manager of Government Affairs, Michelle Rickner, Consultant, Training Funding Partners.
Morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the panel. My name is Derek Thomas. I'm Senior Manager of Government Affairs for Niagara Bottling. We're a California-based beverage manufacturer. Appreciate your time today and that of your staff for helping us prepare this proposal for you. We greatly appreciate the support of the employment training panel has provided to Niagara, which has allowed us to grow our workforce quite substantially from 820 to nearly 2,700 employees over the last 8 years. This support has allowed us to expand our footprint in the state and to compete in a very competitive bottle manufacturing industry. As you know, we've been successful in our previous projects that had to do with converting some product lines, adding new machinery and new lines to some of our facilities. We expect the same positive outcomes with this project proposal. and that is consistent with our business plans for California. This new proposal will help us expand from 6 to 8 operating facilities with our 2 new facilities in Stockton, as well as with new manufacturing lines and technology that we are implementing. This project will help us attract and maintain highly skilled workforce, with the training focusing on day-to-day plant operations, customer service, technology, leadership, and team development, as well as manufacturing and logistical skills. On behalf of Niagara Bottling, I sincerely appreciate your consideration for this project proposal, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Very much. So does the panel have any questions regarding this proposal?
We typically hear from the prospective contractor from their workforce development kind of unit, not their government relations person. So if you could elaborate for me about the quality of the curriculum that's being instructed for them and how that's advancing those workers in their careers. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, please.
Sure. I'm actually filling in for someone from our team, so that's the reason I'm here before you today. And I live in Folsom, so I'm local. But to speak to your question about the quality of the curriculum, as you can imagine, when you're building new facilities such as we are in Stockton, there's a lot of new machinery. We are a pretty big beverage supplier, a lot of complex equipment, technology, and just a lot of jobs on a plant floor that require just a variety of different trainings. And that's why, we promote from within, and we want employees on the floor who have a variety of skill sets, from general business skills to computer skills to, knowing how to run our lines, our capping and bottling process, our palletizing, you name it. It's so varied. And so I hope that addresses your question.
That does help address the question. Thank you. It's not your first time from coming here, and then under training vendors, it says to be determined. So that sent me kind of a little bit of a red flag of like, well, who's teaching these workers and providing the training? But it sounds like it's internal.
Yeah, it's mostly internal, and I think it's probably very consistent with our past projects and how we've complied with the program requirements.
I would say it's 95% at least internally instructed. Mhm.
Any other questions for this? Hearing none, I'm going to open it up to the public if they have any comments regarding this proposal.
No hands raised at this time.
Fine, all right. So with that, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Niagara Bottling, Inc. for ATP funding in the amount of $299,000.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion carried. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the questions as well.
Next, we have tab 13, a proposal from Northern California Construction Training, Inc. They are a repeat contractor requesting $402,344 to train 76 new hire trainees. Training will take place at Northern California Construction Training's locations in Sacramento, San Joaquin, Yolo, Mendocino, Placer, and Stanislaus counties. Here representing Northern California Construction Training to answer any questions are Jeff Armstrong, Director of Marketing and Outreach.
All right, well, good morning, and thank you, panel members and staff. Yes, my name is Jeff Armstrong, Director of Marketing and Outreach for NCCT. NCCT is a state-approved pre-apprenticeship training program. Our goal is to take people from all walks of life, give them a fundamental training, some of the basics in construction, and then upon graduation, put them in a union-affiliated apprenticeship program. We are here today to ask for additional funding, not only to continue the training that we're doing, but to expand upon it. You may notice we're asking for a little bit more money this year than last year or last go around. That's because our conversations that we've had with all of our industry partners told us how busy they expect to be over the next 5 to 7 years. And we want to be there to make sure that enough apprentices are out there with a good education even before they join the apprenticeship program. A point that was driven home, we had a union representative from the local electricians union come out on Tuesday, speak to our class, and tell them that they expect to bring in 400 new members this year. So when we hear numbers like that, it's all hands on deck and do whatever we can to make sure that there are enough good quality apprentices out there doing all this important work. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Does the panel have any questions for this proposal?
I'm scrolling wildly, sorry, but I could have swore I read somewhere that approximately 80% of your trainees do successfully transition into an apprenticeship program or full-time employment.
That is correct. Yeah, we do. It fluctuates between 80 and 85%. We do have a very strong placement rating, and that's just because of all of our partnerships we've had. We've been doing this since 1995, so we've gotten really good at it.
And I did take the liberty of taking a look at your website as well. And I just want to clarification. It seemed to me like your training is absolutely free. There is no tuition charged of the applicants or the trainees.
That is correct. There's never a cost. And upon graduation, if someone needs a new pair of boots or a tool belt, we can provide that for them at no cost. There's typically a fee to go along with joining a union. We will cover that fee as well.
And the same thing for veterans too. You're not collecting their GI Bill.
No, that's correct.
Thank you. There's a lot of golden nuggets to this application. Thank you for sharing today.
Hearing none, I'm going to open it up to the public if they have any comments regarding this proposal.
No hands raised at this time.
Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve $402,344 to the Northern California Construction Training.
Second.
Third.
We have a motion, a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Guys have a motion carried. Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much.
The reason I was laughing was Gloria said she wanted to approve the last contract. Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask the panel members if they have any requests, or anything on the future agendas that they'd like to include, or any things that are on their hot buttons they'd like to add to the agenda in the future. Okay, or even at the subcommittee meeting, if there's anything that you might want to think about, please send in your requests. Okay, so with that, I'm going to open it up to the public if they have any comments that are not related to the agenda. So I'm going to open it up to the public at this point, so.
I don't see any hands raised, Madam Chair. Oh, my apologies.
Well, good morning. I'm Annie Rafferty with Butte College, and I'm here representing with Eldon Davidson, our Upskill California network of colleges. And we're just here to extend our appreciation of both Madam Chair and Gloria Bell of your contributions over the years that you've helped advance the state and our work together as a partner. And you've been fair, you've shared your wisdom, you've given us guidance. And over that period of time, we've all been able to be smart together on behalf of the worker. So we thought we'd share a couple of quick highlights of your achievements of the number of workers served and companies, because it's pretty impressive when you kind of look at the data. So over the total employers that we served together were 3,830 employers with 1.81 million hours of training to those workers, and 76,511 trainees who were able to advance in their careers. And the first group of data that we looked at was an 8-year period, and those wages were about $24.85 on an average wage per hour. And it was a 20% increase in wages that those workers received, and those are all projects that you approved. And another impact is the average cost of those training was $728 per project. And then their individual contribution on a local level from a tax increase perspective is about $450 per person. And so that's really rewarding work that you've helped us achieve together. And we just thought it was a time to be able to recognize that from a data-informed achievement that you've had. And then our last 4 years, in a short period, 4 years, we increased 33% above that in who we've served. and the wages increasing to an average participant to $27.58 an hour. So just wanted to acknowledge, your work with us and congratulate you on your achievement and the work you've done here with our workers in California.
Yeah, it's really rewarding to see all the community colleges coming forward over the last several years. Because, actually so many people, attend the community colleges. I mean, they don't go on to a four-year system, and if they do, they come back to the community colleges. So, I think it's a very vital part of our economy here in California. So I really appreciate all that data that you shared with us today. So.
Yes, and thank you for your contributions. And I hope for some time that the fairness and
Yeah, so your wisdom will carry forward. And, when we looked at the impacts that California's had from the respond with the drought, to the campfire recovery up here at Butte College that we had, that you helped those families and the communities recover, to the pandemic. And here you just, leaving on a note where you approved the ability for some of our colleges who may not be achieving on the CCCF, where some of the colleges that are, we can help and show the governor's office of how together we're working to spend that $15 million in advancing workers and their wages. And so again, congratulations and thank you for all of your work to both of you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming today. Public comment, anybody online? Okay, so with that, I guess, I want to say a few parting words. I've served on the panel almost 18 years. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get emotional. I've only missed 4 meetings out of 180 meetings. So, I feel like I have a lot of vested interest over the years. So anyway, it's very emotional for me. I'm sorry. So Gloria, I'm going to ask you.
Okay, I'll take it from here and then you can come back. No, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the staff. The staff has been really, they're a great group of loyal employees that come every day and show up and want to make a difference. So I really appreciate all you folks who reach out to me as well. And sometimes I don't have it right, and you clarify it for me, and I appreciate it. I also want to thank Janice. When I first got here, I sat next to her, so I was able to learn a lot from her. And I don't know where the 10 years have gone, because I'm 10 years younger, so I don't know what that's about. But I look forward to my next adventure. I'm not retiring. I'm just reinventing myself. I'm going to sail around the world, and that's my goal. I want to be that grandma that my grandkids say, no guts, no grandma. They're writing like this little book about me. I want to be that grandma. But and I've always appreciated too. I wanted to be a role model to young women. Janice, you have been a great role model to women as well. I never had that growing up. I was raised in migrant housing in labor camps throughout California. And I was always looking for that person. So I was able to find that person as an adult. And I found it in you too, Janice. Mentorship and steering me in the right direction as well. And I really thank the staff because without our people, we're nothing. That saying goes, happy cows make happy milk. Same thing goes for employees, Anyway, thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, and with Gloria as well. I mean, she certainly brought a different perspective to the panel. I mean, she has the HR background, and I know I've given HR managers a hard time over the years by saying, they come and go and they come and go. And Gloria says that's true. I mean, she's probably switched jobs 10 times since she's been on the panel being an HR manager. But yeah, she's been very vital, especially around the agricultural business, and understanding the field workers and their wages. And so, she's definitely been a great asset to the panel. So I appreciate that. And those who, I have actually, have various jobs in California. I lived in California. I went to school here. I got married here. So, I have a vested interest in California. So everybody says, well, why are you leaving now? Well, after 18 years, there's certainly another person in California that can sit on the panel besides myself. And the thing is that I'm now kind of a little disconnected from California because, I retired about 8 years ago from manufacturing. And so, I just feel like there's a time to move on. And, and Gloria and I are both travelers. I just got back from Antarctica a few days ago. I was in Antarctica and just flew back from Buenos Aires a few days ago. So, I'm traveling again. I've already got 10 cruises booked, over this year and next. So, it's not like I'm going to stand still. And people keep saying congratulations. I don't know why congratulations. I really feel like it's more bittersweet than leaving because, I've really had a big part of my life has been on this panel. So. Just another note, I've worked with the staff over the years. I've been through like 5 executive directors, and each one has been great. Started with Ida Creo, and I had Jill in interim. I had Brian McMahon. I just had dinner with him last night. I do travel with him and his wife on cruises, and then of course Stuart, and then Peter in interim, and then now Reg. So I've been through a lot of staff as well, and everybody's been great. They really supported me, even though I've been kind of cantankerous at times. But everybody's been really great and supported me over the years. That's it. Yep, I'll go ahead. So let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Oh, wait, we got Barry. Look at Barry. Hey, Barry, here.
I'm back. Anyway, before you adjourn the meeting, I wanted to say a few words. I'm Barry Broad. For those of you who don't know me, I was on the panel for I don't know, 1 million years, and I was chair for 500,000 years a while back. And I served with both Jan and Gloria for a long time. Yesterday, I was having lunch with Stuart Knox, and Stuart, first of all, was trying to figure out how we would get to this meeting, because when you're an agency secretary, you have a boss, and that boss is the governor. And if the governor needs to meet with you, you need to be there. So he asked me if I would say a few words on his behalf. I was thinking last night, okay, there's 2 of them. There's now 2 of me. I got to speak for Stuart. I got to speak for myself. But so that's like an hour and a half. So I, for those of you who are Star Trek fans, I did kind of the Vulcan mind meld. And so Stuart and I are one person now, and whatever I say goes for Stuart, and whatever is Stuart goes for me. So let me say this. Stuart and I work together with you too. And I first, Jan, you and I sat next to each other for all those years. All the years that I was the temporary chair, through the Schwarzenegger years, and then they made me a permanent chair because it was like politically worked and everything. And you and I first met when you came up to this panel, and I gave you a really hard time. Then and probably in a way that you would have given yourself a hard time if you had been me. That's what it turned out to be. And you arrived on this panel, and you and I, because we came from different perspectives, we really spoke, and I really appreciated this from you. You really helped make this whole panel work in a way that didn't pit management against labor, which had been the previous history of the ETP, in a way that made us credible. You understood the whole gamut of training in a way that I did not. And you were able to speak directly to that. Same with you, Gloria. You had a perspective that I didn't have. The great thing about these kind of boards is that everybody brings a perspective that's incredibly valuable to the process. There's no point in having a board if it doesn't use the expertise that is brought here, the judgment, maybe the bias, whatever. They work off against each other, and they produce a very credible product, because this is a very credible board. And I know Stuart feels that way, and I know I feel that way, and I know that you are a big part of that. And I'm forever indebted to you for serving together. And okay, let me say one last thing about Jan. I played her in Words with Friends about 1 million times. I never won one time. Okay, so I think she's funding this whole Antarctica thing because she's some kind of ringer for people who place bets on Words with Friends. Because you got to be really, really smart to beat somebody 1,000 times who thinks they're really smart. You know, I mean, it seemed like I was even beating my mother, who's really smart, and never once. So I don't know how that can be, except that you must be an incredible genius.
Well, Barry, I asked you to be a Words with Friends with me just a few months ago and you declined. So I don't know. I don't know. why
Well,
that was.
that is not, I don't remember that because I'm getting old, but I have to admit that my kids switched me over to Wordle.
Oh, Wordle's very good.
Wordle's very good, but it's not competitive. You're only competing against yourself. So my fragile ego can survive.
Okay. Well, now there's Quordle, there's Octordle.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah, so there's 4 and there's 8, and then there's also called Worldle. So you can actually, they give you a country and you have to find out what country that is in the world, which is kind of fun. So, and there's Waffle. So there's a lot of different games that I play. So.
Well, I
they're
guess
all-
I
they're
should
all
be
five-
back. I should be back in contact.
So they're
So
all
that,
5-letter words. So that's why.
right. So you can beat me in something like 100,000 more times. And, anyway,
Yeah.
but I thank you. And I thank the rest of you for your service. Those of you that I served with and those of you that have come after me. It's a wonderful thing that you do. It's a wonderful service that you do for the public and for the employers and employees of the state. So thank you for everything.
As you know, Barry, I mean, we serve on the panel and, there's an unpaid position, and a lot of people are very busy and, but, it just, once you're committed, you're committed. And that's kind of how I feel regardless. So that's why I always attend and, always read my panel packet. And, that's what makes me be able to ask the questions that I do. So.
Yeah, well, you're the best, both of you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Barry. And thanks, Stuart.
Okay, well, before we begin the actual reception event, we are going to need you, Jan, to close the
Yeah.
panel meeting formally.
Okay, so let's go ahead and try this again. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion carried, meeting adjourned. All righty.
Okay.